Welcome to the Report to the Nation Media Forum of the National Press Club, where you get only the news and information that truly matters. Join us every week for discussion of the issues that affect our nation and our future. This program is a production of the National Press Club of the Philippines in partnership with the Strategic Communication and Information Service, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, Smart Philippines, and MX3.
Okay, magandang umaga po mga kababayan at welcome pong muli sa Meet the Press Report to the Nation Media Forum ng National Press Club. At ito pong muli si Paul Gutierrez, ang Pangulo ng NPC, at kasama ko po yung magandang lalaking publisher po ng Police Files Tonight at NPC Director Joey Binancio. And for this morning po, we're very privileged to have one-on-one. Matagal na tayong walang one-on-one na bisita. Ang ating pong dating senador at anak ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos, si Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. At before we proceed po, ay siyempre kailangan po munang pasalamatan po natin ang ating mga partner stakeholders who have been with us through the years, no? Unang-una po dito ang Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation o PAGCOR, ang Smart Philippines, ang Strategic Information Service ng DENR under Yusek Benny Antiporda, and of course ang MX3 pala, mga kababayan. So without much further ado, siyempre kailangan muna nating i-emphasize po sa inyo na hindi po patay ang malayang pamamahayag sa Pilipinas, lalo na po sa print media, sapagkat ito po ang latest edition ng Pinoy Expose, ng Pahayagang Remate, at siyempre po ng Police Files Tonight. And with that, mga kababayan, ito, tayo muling nagpapasalamat kay Senator Bongbong Marcos sa kanya pong papaunlak sa ating imbitasyon. This would be the third time that the Senator Bongbong is with us dito po sa ating media forum. Siya po actually ang unang nagbukas nitong nung Meet the Press Media Forum when we started this about 6 years ago. Ganong katagal na po, no? And then of course after the 2019 elections, he was also here, and today narito pong muli ang ating ginagalang na mambabatas, Senator Bongbong Marcos. But Senator, before I let you make your introduction, siyempre po, just to be clear about it, mga kababayan, ano man po ang sabihin ninyo sa amin, we would like to again thank the father of Senator Bongbong Marcos, President Ferdinand Marcos, kasi siya po ang nagsalba ng National Press Club nung panahong kami po'y talagang hirap na hirap. This would be about 1978. So it does not mean, of course, na bisita natin si Senator Bongbong, wala na tayong gagawin kundi purihin itong mamang ito. Diba? Siyempre, kung meron po kayong mga tanong dyan, mga kapatid sa hanap buhay, ibato lang po ninyo through our messenger board o dito sa sa Facebook natin. Marami na rin pong sumusunod ngayon . Yes, and with that, go ahead, Senator Bongbong Marcos, and welcome to the Meet the Press Report to the Nation Media Forum ng National Press Club.
Maraming salamat, Paul, and good morning, Joey, at lahat ng mga nakikinig. And I hope that this long-awaited appearance with the NPC will bring some light to all of these issues that we are facing right now, lalong-lalo na humaharap tayo sa halalan sa gitna ng pandemya. I hope to at least give some of my views on what is happening. So thank you for the opportunity once again for allowing me to discuss with you some of the issues of the day.
Yes, at unang question siguro, ano yung pananaw mo dito sa nangyayaring pandemya natin, lalo na sa mga hanay ng mga estudyante? Hanggang ngayon, hirap na hirap sa face-to-face schooling. And then, may mga lumalabas na pag-aaral na because of that, or maybe partly because of that, bumababa yung kaalaman ng ating mga estudyante, Senator Bongbong.
Yes, I know talaga isa sa pinakamalaking problema natin yan yung dahil dito sa pandemya, is the education. Nakikita ko on a personal level. Of course, I hear the news and kung ano yung mga balibalita, ano yung mga reaction ng tao dito sa mga ginagawang mga paraan na remote learning, which is done essentially through the internet and in some areas some other way. But talaga in the end, unfortunately, despite all the best efforts of the DepEd, talagang napakahirap. It is not, talagang hindi pareho eh. Mabuti pa yung mga mayayaman, nakakapag-hire sila ng sariling tutor, gumagawa sila ng tinatawag na pod, na siguro yung mga 5-6 na pamilya nagsasama-sama, and they put together a kind of schooling program. They hire a teacher. That's good for those people who can afford it. Pero the vast majority cannot. And they simply do not have access. Yung mga iba, simple lang ang problema, walang internet. So this is really one of the biggest problems that I think the pandemic has brought us. Yung nakakaawa yung mga bata kasi kahit papaano, iba ang tingin. It's a very simple thing. Yung employer, pagka mag-apply, sasabihin yung diploma mo 2020 o 2021, sasabihin ay hindi, mahina yan dahil nung panahon ng pandemic yan eh. Baka pinamigay na lang yung diploma na yun, which you cannot blame people because it's really a difficult situation. And so parang lugi yung mga bata. I feel very bad. And I'm talking not only at the tertiary level. Mula sa baba, mula sa maliliit, grade school hanggang high school, lahat. Actually, sa college level, mabuti-buti. Kasi college na sila eh. So, talagang desidido sila makahanap ng paraan na mag-aral. But, lalo na yung grade school. I mean, with the problems that we're facing, lack of equipment, lack of internet signal, we really have to find a way to start face-to-face again. Because even there are beginning to be mental issues for children because they use socialization, all of this na hindi nami-miss nila yung mga kaklase nila. All of these things, it's not a simple issue. But that is one of the things that we are going to have. Kailangan talagang bigyan ng pansin sa gitna nitong pandemya, habang hindi pa tayo nag-face-to-face na teaching. Maybe we can start thinking about yung ang tawag dito, yung mga ibang lugar na mababa naman talaga ang infection rate, na hindi naman in danger, baka naman pwede natin gawin doon muna sa mga lugar na yun, bumalik na yung face-to-face na pagturo. Just to get back into it. I know that hindi magiging buo ito hanggang mabakunahan, lalo na yung mga bata at saka yung mga teacher natin. But in the meantime, I think a good start would be to start looking at the area. Saan baka sakali may mga lugar na pwede na, na hindi tayo kailangan mag-alala dahil pwede na, dahil wala namang infection, wala namang cases, nabakunahan lahat ng teacher, nabakunahan yung mga bata. Maybe in those areas we can start it. But at a premium ngayon yung bakuna eh. So saan nyo dadalhin? Will you bring it to the frontliners? Will you bring it to the driver ng mga transportation? Will you bring it to the delivery boys ng mga delivery systems natin ngayon? That's why it all boils down to the vaccine. Kailangan natin makakuha na ng vaccine at i-roll out na ng mabuti. It is ako I feel very badly because it hits everybody at the personal level. This problem with education, because it is everybody I'm a parent. I know many parents. I have nieces and nephews and may apo na ako, and so it's a real problem, and it's something that we really need to attend to.
Senator, but that would mean more uneven development, di ba, ng ating mga estudyante? Kasi
Yes.
makakalamang yung mga lugar na mababa ang infection.
Ayun lamang, wala tayong magagawa, pero huwag tayo pupunta sa lowest common denominator. Subukan natin pagandahin kung ano yung kaya natin pagandahin. Kung may mga lugar na talagang hindi kaya, pagtsatsagaan muna natin itong mga sistema, itong remote learning na tinatawag. Pero I feel, ang feeling ko is kung sino man ang kaya nating maturuan na mahusay, gawin natin. That's unfortunately the pandemic has brought this new problem to us. We just have to work around it. Hindi natin pwedeng tigilan eh. We cannot just wait until everybody is vaccinated. No, I presume hindi tayo aabot sa 106 million na vaccination, na fully vaccinated. So kung aantayin natin yun, masyado talaga may iiwanan ng ating mga bata. So, we have to start somewhere. And besides, I think that pagka naging maayos na and the system is more, how do you say, is running better, then I think that magpapantay-pantay diyan, makakahabol din yung mga bata. You know, children are very, very have a very, very large capacity to adjust. So we just have to do our best. Ganun naman talaga dito sa pandemic na ito. We just have to do our best. The problems keep arising. This Delta variant, this is akala natin nung Pebrero, Marso, akala natin medyo gumaganda na eh. Tapos ito na naman, Delta variant, nagsisurge naman. And unfortunately, it's not happening just to us, but to everybody around the world.
Yes. Speaking of that, Senator, ang Pilipinas, ang ating gobyerno, yung mga kritiko, wala nang makitang maganda sa approach ng gobyerno dito sa pandemya. But how do you assess the performance when compared to the situation in other countries, even here in ASEAN, no? Lalo na sa Indonesia, pati ata mga bata doon, Senator, nabiktima na rin itong Delta variant.
I think tama ang mga response ng government. Kung minsan lang, there is a slight confusion once in a while as to what our status is, because you know we are all in the middle of collecting data. Hindi pa kumpleto, hindi kagaya ng halimbawa we're talking about another disease, we're talking about flu, simple. We have statistics going back almost 100 years. Ito, we don't have statistics. So the statistics are only now being put together. The data is only now being put together. So what we have to do, although there's such slight confusion because pabago-bago, I think that the attitude of government right now na basta go back to basics, and that is wearing a mask again, hugas ng kamay, mag-social distancing, ingat lahat and everything. All of those things, pag nasundan yan, kahit papaano, that will have a good effect. But sa aking palagay, the only final solution to all of this will be vaccines. Until we have the full supply of vaccines. Ang nakikita ko, I go around umiikot ako sa iba't ibang lugar. The LGUs are ready to dispense the vaccine. Unfortunately, the supply is not assured. So magbabaksin sila, they'll go on for 1 week, for 2 weeks, tapos tigil na naman dahil naubusan na. But again, that's the ultimate problem. But in the meantime, there are many things that we can do. And the government, I think, is moving in the right direction. Kasama na pati doon, hindi lamang nag-lockdown, pero at least nakahanap ng pondo para matuloy yung ayuda. But of course, the ultimate goal is to get people back to work. So that requires vaccination. That requires some public investment in different sectors of the economy. Yun ang ating mga kailangang pag-isipan na ngayon habang inaantay natin ang pagdating ng bakuna.
Thank you. I remember previously naging guest namin dito yung ating mga vaccine experts, Senator, no? And they revealed, particularly in the Dr. Lulu Bravo, Director Joey, di ba? They revealed na nung panahon ng daddy mo, nakakagawa na pala tayo ng bakuna, no? For some viruses and diseases unfortunately, pagdating nung administrasyon ng mga Aquino, 1986, ito yung kasama sa kumbaga nabaliwalang magandang programa. So, do you think it's really high time na ibalik natin yung ganitong kapasidad ng Pilipinas na tayo na yung maggawa ng bakuna natin?
Well, kung maalala ninyo, matagal nang nandyan yung RITM eh. The Research Institute for Tropical Medicine has been there since 30 plus years. So meron na tayong, and then there was in the 80s there was a resurgence in building up our healthcare capacity. Mga ospital, nagtayo tayo mga ospital, mga research institute. We even had a biotech in UPLB. All of these things are already in place. So we can just go back, balikan natin to at sabihin natin, bigyan natin ng magandang budget. Mag-hire sila ng mas magaling na tao, mag-hire sila yung pinakamagaling. Marami naman talaga tayo magagaling na scientists, hindi lang masyadong nasusuportahan ng trabaho nila ng pamahalaan. But the pandemic has taught us a very, very clear lesson that part of the weakness in the government services is healthcare. But I guess we are not alone in that. I guess all the other countries have come to that conclusion. So that has to become part of our future planning. If we're going to say, halimbawa, ako, in my mind, I always try to put together that hypothetical. Ano bang mangyayari? Halimbawa, sabihin natin, kompleto, we have 70 million vaccines sitting in freezers somewhere. And hindi na problema yung vaccine. Ano ngayon ang gagawin natin? How do we invest public funds? Where do we invest public funds? And how do we invest public funds to have the best multiplier effect na bubuhayin ulit ang ating ekonomiya? Because what people want, I think, I'm sure nakita nyo lahat ng mga survey, ang unang top of mind talaga, walang trabaho. Pangalawa, walang pagkain. Pangatlo, poverty. That's the same issue. And that's 1, 2, and 3. Although tumataas talaga ngayon because of this Delta variant, people are beginning to truly understand the danger of this Delta variant. So that's moving up in terms of people's concerns. But we have to get back to that point. We have to get back to the point na there is some promise man lang of jobs for our people so they can get back to work, so they can feed their families, they can send their children to school. All of the normal things that any family, any breadwinner in any family thinks about. These are the things that we have to concern ourselves with. In the meantime, the best that we can do, since hindi pa kumpletong bakuna natin, is that, number one, the information that's dapat mabigay sa ating mga kababayan tungkol sa bakuna. Dahil marami pa rin ako nakakausap na medyo takot pa eh.
Yes.
Nagdadalawang isip pa eh. We have to convince them that no, it's safe, it's okay. Kulang siguro tayo sa konting communication, sa konting information. And secondly, the actual vaccination na magawa na natin. And again, it really revolves around the supply that we are given.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, Senator, of course, sabi mo, nag-iikot ka na. Siyempre, we assume, fully vaccinated ka na. Di ba?
Oo, natapos na kami. We had our vaccines in San Juan. And Sinovac ang binigay sa amin. Maganda naman. Siyempre, ibang pakiramdam pag nabakunahan ka na because lalakas ang loob mong lumabas, you feel better about it. Hindi ka laging takot na baka tamaan ka. So it's much better that as soon as I got my second shot, nakakaikot na nga ako because I wanted to see, siyempre there's the political side to it, but I wanted to see what is the situation in COVID dun sa mga iba't ibang lugar, number one. Number two, ano ba talaga ang kailangan ninyo? What is it that people need? So that government or public servants can respond to the need. And that was the reason that I thought. And of course, we have to touch base with our friends, our leaders, our allies in politika dahil papunta na nga tayo sa halalan, sa kampanya. So that has to be attended to also. So ganyan ang aking ginagawa. And I think thus far, we have been doing generally a good job when in the pandemic response. Perhaps there are little adjustments that could be made. I'm talking about on a local level. But otherwise, I think we've done as well, if not better, than many of our neighbors. Yung mga dating sikat na sinasabi, ang galing-galing ng response, ganyan, tinamaan din eh.
Yes.
Nagka-surge din eh. So talagang walang ligtas dito sa COVID na ito, tsaka lalo na dito sa Delta variant.
Nabanggit mo na rin lang yung alamin ng pulso ng ating mga kababayan. Siguro punta tayo dito sa yung alam kong inaabangan ng mga kapatid natin sa media na tanong, Senator. Pero before that, mga kapatid sa media, hindi po kami pro Marcos pero ito pong ating respond dito sa ating thread, ito, kagaya nito. BBM lang sa 2022. BBM all the way. BBM 2022. Marcos pa rin 2022.
Sinusulong,
But Sir Bongbong, Marcos is still for the next 17th Philippine President. Ba't ganito ito?
Binabayaran ko yung Bongbong dito eh. Wala di ba binabasa lang natin yung response eh.
Binabasa lang po namin to mga kapatid. Ito naman po ay mababasa rin ninyo, yung mga kapatid natin sa media, hindi po kami nagpo-post nito. Ito, Marcos loyalist Hong Kong watching. Good morning Apo, Marcos pa rin 2022. Puro BBM 2022 itong nababasa namin dito, Senator. So, ano ba talaga ang plano mo for 2022?
Hindi natin iwasan magtanong ito. Ito na yun eh.
Wala. Hindi. Bakit? Talagang kailangan na pag-isipan na mabuti yan. Well, I'm certainly going to run for a national position. But, I always say, siguro narinig nyo na sa akin ito, pero uulitin ko that ang payo tayo talaga sa akin dahil lalong-lalo na sa politika is to keep my options open. And this is a very funny, very strange and unusual political situation that we find ourselves in. Because it's an election in the middle of the pandemic. And maraming iba-iba, something very simple lang yung how do we campaign? How do we do what we normally do? Hindi na pwede yung mga dating mga lalaking rally, etc. So we have to find something else. Tayo, tingnan nyo, imbis na nandyan ako sa NPC, we have to do the Zoom. All of these things are coming to account. And that is why the picture for the next election is relatively unclear. Hindi pa natin nakikita kung sino ba talaga ang tatakbo, ano yung tatakbuhan nila, ano yung dala nilang partido, and all of those different elements that usually are generally in place already by now. At least the other time that it was not so was nung yung pagtakbo ni Noynoy, because he just became a candidate in August of the year before the election. But nonetheless, there is the pandemic that changes everything. And then the front runners, nobody has declared.
Hindi, nag-declare na si Ping Lacson tsaka si Soto.
Si Tito Sen, si Senate President, siya talagang pinakauna actually na major candidate na nagdeklara that he was running for Vice President under NPC. Now, Senator Ping recently has made moves that it's become clear that he is running. But that's only a week or so, 2 weeks old. Manny Pacquiao, although he has not proclaimed, it looks like he is planning to run. So, ganon pa. And then, the question of what Mayor Sara will do, and what our president will do. If he's talagang itututuo ba niya yung kanyang pag-vice president, o si Sara tutuloy ba? Hindi. What is the real story? So, although marami tayong haka-haka, maraming spekulasyon, the truth of the matter is nothing is really set in stone yet. Marami tayong nakikita that we see sa pahayagan na sinasabi nagkaayusan na, tapos the next day, no, there's a denial, hindi totoo, ganyan.
Actually, Senator, meron kang picture kasama mo si Mayor Sara. Yun, bumaha ang social media sa yun na raw ang tandem.
Bakit hindi? Bakit hindi? That is always a possibility. All of these things are a possibility. That is why, precisely, ang sinasabi ko, I keep my options open. And we'll see as the time goes. We have, 8 weeks to go? 8 and a half? 7 and a half? Malapit na talaga.
By the way, Senator, si Mayor Isko Moreno, nag-resign na sa NUP. Lilipat na
Partidong Demokratiko. Pero
so yan, indikasyon din yan. Di ba? Kung bakit siya aalis ng NUP, lilipat ng partido. Ganon.
sabi
diba?
din sa takbong nasyonal, ano?
Baka national position din daw ang tatakbo na ito, Senator.
Maaari. Lumalabas ang pangalan niya sa mga survey. Lumalabas very active ang kanyang PR. So, siyempre, there's movement there. But you have to assess. Kasi, maaari pa rin, hindi siya tutuloy. So, we don't know. Our best information is not clear as to what anybody is doing. Everyone's keeping their cards close to their chest. So, I think I will have to do the same.
Senator, balikan lang natin yung naging meeting nyo ni Mayor Sara, and earlier you said you're open to any possibility. Nung nagkita ba kayo, paano? Nagmerienda lang ba kayo? Paano? Pinag-usapan nyo na rin anong magiging kombinasyon sa next year?
Hindi namin napag-usapan yung mga kombinasyon. Basta tatanong ka, ano ba talagang plano? Ano bang gusto mong gawin? No? Sige, basta sabi ko, ako mangangampanya ako, iikot ako. Kasi kahit anong gawin ko, kailangan ko i-solidify ulit yung ating mga kaibigan, ating mga kaalyado. But yun na lang, let's just always be in touch. Let's always talk kung ano yung iniisip mo, ano yung iniisip ko. Because that's really the only way to do it. It's not something that you decide. Hindi naman magde-decide dahil nagkita kami, pinuntahan namin sa Davao sa birthday niya, magde-decide na doon, hindi pa. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa siya nagdideklara. Meron pa nga yung mag-ama, hindi nga na maunawaan kung ano ba talagang usapan nila.
No nga.
So, yeah, and we will never really know because we're not privy to all of these discussions. But those are the things that are yan ang mga variables na hinaharap natin ngayon. Kaya mahirap talaga makapag-decide. At kaya nga, balikan ko na naman yung paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, I will keep my options open for as long as I can.
Ayun. But ito, may isang after my question mga kapatid, ay open na po. Itaas nyo lang ang kamay ninyo para kung may tanong kayo kay Senator Bongbong Marcos. But before I pose my question. Nga pala, Senator, gusto naming pasalamatan yung isang partner mo, si Erwin Tulfo, no? At medyo na-delay nga ang pagbubukas namin itong Zoom site natin dito dahil nagdala si Erwin Tulfo ng 400 sacks of rice para sa mga miyembro ng media at saka po 40 kahon ng sardinas. Ito po pamumudmud natin sa mga miyembro po natin bilang ayuda during the period of lockdown. So again, Boss Erwin Tulfo and of course, AXIS Party List, Congressman Eric Yap, kapatid na Ninya Taduran and Congresswoman Tulfo, salamat po sa inyong patuloy na pagsuporta at pagmamalasakit sa National Press Club. And ang question ko, Senator, is this: okay, iba ang sitwasyon natin ngayon. What do you think should be the issues na dapat talakayin ngayong palapit na ang halalan? Politika, ekonomiya, gano'n. Saan ba dapat isentro ng mga kandidato ang usapin pagdating nitong halalan natin?
Well, ang halalan natin is in May 2022.
Yes.
And presumably, yung ating vaccination program talagang tumatakbo na ng mabuti. So we really have to be, ngayon pa lang, kailangan na nating iniisip, what are we going to do about the economy? Paano natin bubuhayin ulit ang ekonomiya? Paano natin pasisiglahin ulit ang economic activity dito sa Pilipinas? Now, it is again an unusual situation dahil dati medyo pag pinag-uusapan ng Philippine economy, it is like an economy that is specific to the Philippines. Yun ang situation sa Pilipinas, ito yung mga dapat gawin. And there were times that we can count on the help of other big rich countries, the US, like Japan, even China, kung saan we can always count on some kind of help. Now, it's not necessarily the case. We have become a more global economy, and therefore we cannot assess or we cannot analyze what the economy will bring on a very insular basis. We have to really look at what's happening with the global economy and the situation that they're in, and how much we can take part in their resurgence or their recovery. In any case, ang sa akin palagay, ang pinakamalaking issue na dapat talagang pag-usapan ay ano ang post-COVID plano para sa ekonomiya, para magdala ng trabaho, para I always use as a very basic example. Every year we graduate mga 1.2 million na graduate. So that's 1.2 joining the ranks of unemployed. We will return, I think, approximately approaching 600,000-700,000 OFWs who will have to come back because nawala yung trabaho nila. Not only did they lose their jobs, the jobs that they previously had have disappeared. Yung iba hindi na babalik. So we have to find employment for that. Bukod pa doon, yung unemployed na talaga and underemployed. So that I think should be the focus. And how do we get the economy moving? And in my view, of course the large corporations and the big businesses have a role to play. But para sa akin is just get money into the hands of ordinary people. And I'm not talking about ayuda, just yung tinatawag na cash transfer na basta namimigay tayo ng pera because we cannot support that much longer. So what I'm trying to do is it's actually we must think of it as a public investment in certain areas. And you're talking about yung medium and small term enterprises because they still comprise the huge majority. At napaka-importante kasi kung may hawak ang tao na pera, bibili siya ng kahit na bibili ng pagkain o bibili ng gamit, magbabayad ng rent. All of this, the money enters into the economy and iikot yan. Because yung binabayaran niya will have also money in their pocket and slowly, kahit mahina pa yung multiplier effect, lalaki at lalaki yan habang mas malaki ang ating ekonomiya. The question now is what areas of the economy do we invest in? What are the areas that are going to be significantly larger or more active post-pandemic than it ever was pre-pandemic? So we have to rethink our view of the economy, but simply because the terrain for all businesses of any kind has changed completely. Even just the physical requirements now of having a mask, of putting up shields in the offices, mga testing, all of these things have to be taken into account. These are added costs that either the government will bear or corporations will bear. And then, what are the areas that are going to be very important in the near future? So there is the ayuda is very important. Ang dami talaga natulungan ng ayuda. Kung wala yan, talagang wala na makain ng mga tao, kawawa naman talaga. Kaya napakalaking bagay na kahit papaano nakakatulog tayo. Pero in the long term, we really have to be thinking, how do we provide those jobs? How do we create those jobs? Where do we direct our public investment? And I think the buzzword now, yung kanilang laging sinasabi is we have to digitize the entire economy. Well, I don't know about the entire economy, but a large part of the economy is going to be digitized. Many of the people na nakasubok na ng work from home, hindi na babalik yan sa dating gawi. Sasabihin, pwede naman pala pasok tayo once a week, twice a week. Hindi na kailangan araw-araw na pumapasok kasi yung ibang trabaho, kaya naman natin gawin from home. Meron akong, my son is in Singapore, is working as a coder. He writes code for, he works for a government corporation in Singapore. And walang problema yung work from home sa kanya. My wife is a lawyer. Marami siyang magawang trabaho na galing sa kaya sa bahay lang, work from home ulit. So that whole process of working will change, and we have to adjust well and quickly. The first thing is that siguro yung build na ginagawa ng pamahalaan, isama natin doon yung internet. Because that is going to be as critical as roads and bridges, or it has already become as critical as roads and bridges in terms of infrastructure necessity or development dito sa ating bansa. And we have fallen behind for whatever reason with the other countries. And siguro yan ang talagang dapat nating tignan na mabuti, because mas mabilis ang flow ng information, mas mabilis ang trabaho ang nagagawa natin. And all of these things, all of these things have become so important, and we have to adjust our thinking. Whereas before, we say infrastructure, roads, bridges, buildings. Now we have to talk about infrastructure, we have to talk about power. We have to really go back to basics. We have to go back. For example, hindi na natin iniisip noon yung food supply. Lagi naman may pagkain. Ngayon, napaalala sa atin na medyo naghihirap ang ating agricultural sector. At pag hindi na tayo makaasa sa ibang bansa para sa supply natin, hindi lamang sa palay, hindi lamang sa bigas, kundi sa iba't ibang produkto, we have to be able, there's a strategic reason why our own agricultural sector has to be strong. And that is a of strategic importance for the strength of the nation, of the country. So agri. Now we talked about education a little bit. That's for me, as I always said, para sa akin yan ang pinakamahalagang serbisyo na idinudulot ng gobyerno sa taong bayan, lalo na sa mga kabataan. Na talagang binigyan tayo ng napakalaking problema nitong COVID kung paano gagawin. Kailangan natin balikan yan, kailangan natin isipin yan kung paano gagawin yan. And then, now the new, well, not so new, it has always been there, but it has been highlighted by the pandemic, is healthcare. The government has not built any major hospitals since 1986. And that is a long time. We have been waiting for that a long time, and that weakness has been highlighted by the pandemic. So balikan natin. We have to start strengthening the research institutes. Yung suggestion or the initiative of the president of putting a Center for Disease Control, yung parang sa United States, tama rin yun para may overarching na organization na talagang hinahanda yung mga iba't ibang ahensya, iba't ibang ospital para sa susunod after COVID. Ang dami nagsasabi, hindi pa ito yung huli. Baka meron pang darating, so we have to be ready for that. But yes, let's take this as an opportunity to generally improve our healthcare system. And aside from building the large institutions, ibaba natin sa grassroots level kasi doon tayo nahirapan hindi tayo nakapag-testing na mabuti, hindi tayo nakapag-contact tracing na mabuti because when it got to the ground level, mahina ang organization. So we're talking about RHUs, we're talking about rural health units, we're talking about smaller hospitals, clinics that are manned maybe two times a week, 3 times a week for the minor cases that will free up the big hospitals for the major cases. Yun ang mga dapat nating mga iniisip. So that it, and then the na ano nga ako because naalala ko yung slogan sa 60s ano pa eh, rise rise schools and bridges, which is back, we're back to that. Rise, agri, schools, yung education natin, bridges, yung infrastructure. So we really have to go back to basics so that we are more robust pagdating ng sakali ng another economic crisis or even a pandemic again, like we are now going through. So palagay ko, those are the areas that we have to be thinking about. Now, where do we direct our longer term investment? That is something that the economic managers have to analyze and assess for us. Dapat isipin nila saan tayo dapat pupunta, saan bang saan magiging market o saan yung magiging demand na pwede nating i-fill dito sa Pilipinas. We have to be kasi the old economics is that you just follow where the markets are.
Yeah.
Ngayon, like in other countries, they create the markets and they make and make themselves ready for certain markets, or they anticipate the markets. If they don't create it, they anticipate it well. Kaya pinaghahandaan nila. So that's maybe what we need to be doing. Should we be training our people in IT? Should we be training our people in agri? Should we be training our people in other disciplines? Yun ang mga dapat nating isipin ngayon. Those are the issues. And that all boils down to pasisiglahin ang ekonomiya para magkaroon ng trabaho ang karamihan ng tao.
Thank you, Senator. Mukhang all these times naggagawa ka na ng plano, no, para for next year. Anyway, may nagtaas ng kamay si Pangulong Lakay, no, Gonzalo, no. Pero meron lang tanong dito, Senator, kindly ask Sir BBM if he favors the return to the government control of public utilities dahil yan ang isang daing ngayon ng ating mga ordinaryong tao. At saka, Sir BBM, palagay niyo po ba dapat magdagdagan pa ang suporta ng pamahalaan sa ating mga sektor tulad ng mga Filipino inventors para makatulong din sa ating ekonomiya? Ano bang plano? Yun bang plano ni BBM kasama din po yung planong naiwan noon ng ama niya?
Well, yung mga actually last question first. Yung mga planong iniwan ng aking ama are now already being used. Binabalikan kasi yun talagang ang planning nung panahon niya ay talagang very very forward thinking. If you see, they were planning 20-30 years in advance para hindi na kailangan isipin, like we were talking about C5 as far as I know hanggang C12 ang plano diyan eh.
Yes.
And then the development of power, that's the other critical thing. There were many plans na para hindi lang after the Bataan nuclear power plant siyempre maghahanap pa tayo ng sources of power. Hindi pa masyadong importante noon yung mga renewable sources of energy like wind and solar and all the other ones that are coming through the pipeline. Yan ang dapat isama ngayon sa mga plano. So you cannot take it, yung tinatawag na cut and paste. Kailangan talagang, although tama in concept, kailangan the concept has to be applied with the new technologies that we have available. So that would be the approach there. What were the other questions? Ano yung una?
Yung isang question actually, di ba, if you remember, yung ginawa ng daddy mo noon, yung mga strategic sectors, tubig, kuryente, power generation, particularly, dapat talaga yan ay nasa gobyerno. But after 1986, we know what happened. Pinarivatize na lahat ito. So ngayon ang mga tao ay nasa mercy na nitong mga private entities na ito. So ang question is, would you favor na ibalik sa gobyerno itong mga strategic industries?
I absolutely agree dahil kailangan that is public utilities indeed. That is, I see it as a service. So yes, government should be able to kahit to even government should be allowed even to subsidize it if they have to para hindi magtaasan ng presyo. Like tignan natin yung presyo ng langis at saka all the attendant products, no, all the derivative products from oil. Yung OPSF dapat ibalik yan. That is the Oil Price Stabilization Fund. What was that? The biggest, the three big oil companies would contribute to the OPCF so that merong pondo ang gobyerno pag gumagalaw ang presyo ng langis. Para kahit nasusunod, kahit anong gawin mo, susunod at susunod ka sa presyo ng langis. Pero hindi bigla-bigla.
Yes.
Makapag-adjust ang tao, makapag-adjust ang mga negosyo para kahit papano, the shock is not too much. And kung baka kaya, baka tataas, baka naman bumaba ulit, in the time na tumaas, nagbayad yung gobyerno para hindi na masyadong gumalaw. And that stability is good for business. Because if you ask a businessman, what do you want? The one thing that they want is stability para makapagplano sila na matagal. And that's the kind of thing that we have to do. Power generation is becoming critical. And I think magiging salvation natin yan is again technology, because the new technologies are really coming to the fore kung magagamit natin dito sa Pilipinas. Nagsimula na kami dun sa wind sa Ilocos Norte. But nagbabago yung economics Parang nang humahabol na yung solar ngayon. And mas bagay sa Pilipinas yan kasi kahit saan. Yung wind, hindi mo pwedeng ilagay kahit saan yan Kaya namimili ng lugar yan Although ang solar sa Pilipinas, lahat naman kahit paano may araw. So we can put it anywhere. So all of these things have to be taken into account. And only government can take that substantial step in redesigning our entire power structure, the structure of our power supply. Those are the long-term plans. We have to go back. For example, nandito na tayo sa power. It's a complicated issue. Nandito na tayo sa power. Ang nangyari kasi, the evolution of the power generation and supply, hinati sa tatlo, hindi ba? Sa generation, sa transmission, at saka sa distribution. Yes. And all of those are completely separate one from the other. And I think the intent of the government was to make sure that no one entity controls the entire system. So that's something that we have to look into, because the original concept of the electrical cooperatives has changed very much. The original concept is that the members of the electrical cooperatives in the provinces, ang mga member ng mga consumer. So sila nagmamando. Yun lamang after 86 napalitan.
Yes.
Ang nature ng electrical cooperatives naging political.
Yes.
Naging political yung mga namumuno doon. And they got into this problem na yung nangutang sa NPC, National Power. So lahat ng ating mga distributor, which are the cooperatives, the provincial electrical cooperatives, ay nalubog sa utang. And pinapasa yung bayad dun sa utang, pinapasa sa tao. And that's why the prices are the cost rather of electricity is going up. Which brings us to another problem. FDI, for foreign direct investment. How many times have we heard from potential investors na sinasabi nila, gusto namin sa Pilipinas dahil magkaibigan tayo at mahusay naman ang workforce, well-trained, masipag, etc. Yun lamang yung power.
Yes.
Kayo ang pinakamahal. Tapos unreliable pa. Mag-brown out, hindi namin patakbuhin yung malalaking makinarya, nasisira kung ganito. Kung hindi mag-brown out, bago-bagong voltahe, all of these problems that we are facing. So that reduces already our attractiveness to foreign investment. So it really, we really have to go back to basics and build the economy back up again. Not only because of the pandemic, but also because of different political forces that have been acting upon the economy that are not beneficial to the economy politically.
Oo nga.
So kailangan natin balikan yung original concept na pagagandahin natin. Hindi, we do not accommodate a political favor. We do not. We have to put that aside because if we keep doing that, mas nagiging magulo. Because even at the local level, every new mayor will change everything. Every new governor will change everything. Every new president will change everything. So we have to be more consistent in our approach to development.
Ayun. What you're saying is sa pagpapatakbo ng ating ekonomiya at saka negosyo, tanggalan na natin ang politika, Senator.
Well, yan ang hangarin nating lahat. Pero siyempre hindi mo maiiwasan yan. Politics is a large part of how the economy runs. But I think, you cannot make economic decisions based solely on politics, or you cannot choose people based solely on politics.
Yes.
You need good people, and we have good people. Ang dami nating magaling na tao who are willing to make sacrifices. Kahit na mga malaki ng kinikita nila ngayon, they're willing to make sacrifices para tulungan ng gobyerno, para tulungan ng Pilipinas. And those are the kind of people we have to look for. Kahit na hindi natin kasama, hindi natin kapartido, kahit hindi natin kaalyado, yun ang mga tao na kahit papano we have to bring into government and allow them to do their work and bring the benefits of their good work to the country.
Parang yung ginawa ni Pangulong Marcos noon na si Cesar Birata, Prime Minister, technocrat talaga yon, di ba? Yeah. Anyway, si Pangulong Lakay, kanina pa to, mukhang naiinip na. Sige, go ahead, Lakay.
Dr. Bong, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Iikihan ko na kasi 1 milyon na nag-aata na magtanong eh. 1 milyon. Anyway, ang sabi niyo, may mga options kayong iniisip. Kasama ba sa options yan na yan yung pagtakbo bilang Vice President, or is it presidency or nothing? Senator Bong.
Wag naman siguro yung nothing, dahil yung nothing para mag-retire na ako, napakaaga naman ako mag-retire. Wag naman yung nothing. As I said, in real terms, I have many options. National, even local, nandiyan pa rin yan. But sa ngayon, I'm really hoping to maintain. I really want to maintain my presence at the national level. So palagay ko, all as I said, all of that is on the table at pwedeng pag-usapan.
Pero yung VP, Vice President, hindi kasama. VP.
I'm sorry?
Yung pagiging Vice President, hindi kasama.
Wala akong dinidiscount. Wala akong sinasabing hindi pwede. Oo. Siguro, depending on the situation, in my heart of hearts, meron akong preference. Pero we'll see. I mean, kung minsan, things don't... Alam mo, matagal na ako dito sa pamumulitika eh. Palagay ko, hindi na dapat magulat kasi biglang may mangyayari, may magbabago. So that's why you cannot discount anything outright na sasabihin, imposible yan. Ito hindi ko gagawin. Yeah, that's not my approach to the situation.
But follow-up question naman ako, Senator. Ano to eh? Of course, dahil nga marami ka ring plano, you mentioned open, all options are open. Siyempre meron kang mga internal studies or survey na I'm sure ginagawa ng kampo mo, no? So ito kasi yung mga indicator, di ba? Kung saan best suited yung galing mo, yung abilidad mo. Meron ka na mga ganito mga surveys, Senator?
Well, very simple pa lang ang mga surveys because it's very hard, hindi pa makapag-assess. Ang katotohanan actually sa tingin ko, yung mga survey ngayon, na sinasabi, who is your preference for president? Hindi pa ang tao talagang hanggat araw na pagboboto, or at least 1 week before or soon, yung malapit talaga na oras na magboboto, hindi pa iniisip sinong iboboto ko. Parang sino naiisip ko, sino yung nagugustuhan ko. Ang reading ko sa sa mga survey, at nagpapasalamat ako sa lahat na kahit papaano hindi nyo ako nakakalimutan, is ang reading ko at this early stage is that parang assessment yun ng tiwala ng tao sa iyo. And that's how I read it, and that's how I take it. So sa ngayon, all of these very rough surveys are president, vice president, senator, but all of these things are being surveyed not only by myself but everybody else. So pero confusing din ang survey. It also depends how the survey was run, all of these things. So that's why ang tendency ko usually is to go out and talk to people. Alamin ba talaga, eto maganda yung numero ko dito, totoo ba ito? Talaga bang nandiyan kayong mga supporter ko? So that is how I assess the situation. Of course, we rely a great deal on surveys, pero hindi lang yun ang dapat tignan. Sa mabuti naman, sa tagal ko nang namumulitika, marami na tayong naging kaibigan, marami na rin tayong naging kaalyado. Sila ang mga linalapitan ko. Ano yung tingin nyo? Ano dito sa lugar ninyo? What is yun? Ikaw, anong plano mo? Tatakbo ka pa bang mayor? Tatakbo ka pa bang gobernador? Sinong lalaban sa'yo? All of these things. And that's how I assess it. So, it's not really just surveys at this point. I think yung mga surveys at this point, very general lang yan eh. Anong iniisip ninyo? Anong inaalala ninyo? Sino yung nakikita ninyo madalas sa television? Sino yung nagugustuhan ninyo? Sino yung ayaw ninyo? Ano yung nagugustuhan ninyo? Ano yung hindi nyo gusto? It's still a very, very, how do you say, general kind of assessment. So I do my own detailed assessment. And so far naman, mukha namang maganda. Mukha namang yung kagaya ng sabi ko, natutuwa naman ako na yung tiwala sa akin ay nandiyan pa. At yung mga nagtitiwala sa amin ay nandiyan pa.
Yan. Thank you. Before I pass on sa TV5, kay Dale De Vera yung question, mag-comment lang ako, Sen. Kasi alam mo, sinda Tito Sen, sinda Senator Soto, tsaka si Ping Lacson, ang parang survey nila, nag-iikot na rin sila, by the way, mukhang lamang na itong mga ito. In the guise of public consultation Siyempre, senador Di ba? So nakakapag-ikot sila. At parang ang one of the factors na nagkumbinsi sa kanilang tumakbo napakainit daw ng
Tama si Senador
pagtanggap
Bongbong
sa
din
kanila.
Tama si Senador Bongbong din Siya na mismo mag-survey sa sarili niya. Kung totoo ba talaga survey na ito.
Hindi, yun nga.
Mukhang duda siya sa survey.
Sinda Tito Soto, sinda Tito Sen, yun nga Senator Bongbong ang init daw kasi ng pagtanggap sa kanila. Kaya yun, based on their face-to-face public consultation, napupulsahan nila, pwede na. Ganun din ba kainit? Kumbaga, ang magiging pagtanggap siya?
Ganun lang talaga ang magiging assessment mo. You have to make that kind of assessment. Kaya tama, kaya ako talagang hanggat maaari, pinupuntahan ko ang tao, pinupuntahan ko yung mga leader. At sa pag-iikot ko, siyempre, ang una kong pinupuntahan, yung mga dati pa natin kasamahan. And so, we always have a very good discussion. Pinaprangka naman ako, sabi, mahina ka dito, or kulang ka dito, hindi nagustuhan yung ginawa mo dito, or whatever. So, it's more important than looking at the service kasi detalyado At ako, laki ako sa local government kaya malaking tiwala ako sa mga LGUs, malaking tiwala ako sa mga executive. Pag sinabi nilang ganito, kadalasan, lalo na kung kaibigan mo talaga, kadalasan totoo yun. Kaya kita ipanalo rito. Malamang totoo yan. Mahirapan tayo dito dahil sa ganito, ganyan. Totoo yun. So these are the assessments that you really have to make. You cannot, mahirap talaga, very little information is really provided by a nationwide survey in terms of the specifics of a candidate. Yun talaga, you have to go to each area O sa region, sa whatever, region 1 to 3, maayos pa dyan. O punta naman tayo sa region 8, o punta naman tayo sa region 6, baba tayong region 12, region 10, region 9. You have to, hindi pwede yung, may kasabihan nga, I'm sure everyone has heard it, all politics is local. Ang national na takbo is really many local elections being run at the same time for you. And the issues in different places are different. The people, the issues against yung tao mo, yung sumusuporta sa'yo, may issue yan na local, na kailangan alam mo. All of these things. So, it's, we approach it very, in a very grassroots level. Because as I said, dyan ako natuto talaga pagka being a congressman and being a governor. That's really where I learned how politics truly works down at the grassroots level, and that's the point at which it matters. Even like the parties, nag-ibang role ng parties dito sa Pilipinas and the partnership of alliance with a certain party is not necessarily a guarantee of the votes to bring that. Hindi mo pwedeng i-wholesale. You have to really go down and talk to the different your people in the different areas, make your own assessment. Kaya it's not a simple thing, but with marami na tayong naranasan. So kahit papaano, natuto na tayo kung paano gawin yan. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yan. Thank you. At yung kasama natin.
The response, as I said, is has been as good as it has been in all my previous elections.
Thank you. At ito, yung kasama natin sa TV5, si Dale De Vera, may question sa iyo, Sen. Go ahead, Dale.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
To ask, if it's Duterte or Go Duterte tandem, are you willing to run against them?
Well, I'd rather not get into hypotheticals, no? Because I'll be talking to them also and asking them what their plans are. No, that's the thing, because the only ones, the specific is PDP that are saying Go Duterte talaga ang kanilang magiging kandidato. So I don't know how firm that is, because we still have some time for that to change, and we don't know. What the president will do is also a mystery to all of us. Hindi natin nalalaman kung itutuloy ba niya talaga yung pagka-VP niya, kung tutuloy ba talaga si Senator Bongo, kung si Sara tutuloy ba, and this is that's all in the Duterte camp. So but he is now the sitting president, and Sara is doing very well in the survey. So these have to be assessed. But until they announce or until it is clear what they intend to do, it's very hard to respond. Mahirap mag-speculate.
By the way, may statement na si Senator Bongo yung sa Go Duterte, sabi niya, basahin ko na lang yung last part ng statement yun. Gaya ng sinabi ko noon, ang makapagbabago lang ng aking desisyon na tumakbo bilang presidente ay kung si Tatay Digong ang aking magiging vice-presidente. Yan. Parang okay siya, pero kailangan muna niya ng go signal ng kanyang magiging vice-president.
Tama naman dahil yun ang push niya That's perfectly natural. Tama rin yung kanyang sinasabi, and I think whatever he will do, kung ano man ang gagawin niya, siyempre aabisuhan siya ni Pangulong Duterte kung ano yung pinakamaganda para sa kanila. But ayun na nga, hanggang malaman natin kung ano ba talaga ang magiging sitwasyon, mahirap magsabi ngayon pa lang na dito ako papanig, diyan ako sasama, dito ako tatakbo. So it's not pati kami nahirapan kami dahil usually nga mas maliwanag na yung different sides Merong opposition, merong administration, may mga independent. Pero alam nyo na, more or less alam mo na. Pero ngayon, hindi ganun eh. And I think the pandemic has a lot to do with it. Dahil nga, naiba lahat. Isa pang issue na hindi natin masyadong napapag-usapan is well, actually, hindi, lumalabas-labas na, is yung sinasabing mga survey na sinasabi ng mga raming tao na hindi na sila boboto kung nandyan pa yung COVID. Kailangan natin i-analyze yun. Sino yung nagsabi nun? If they say 50% of registered voters will not vote because of COVID, anong demographic yun? Yung mga matatanda ba yan? Yung mga bata ba yan? Yung mga mayaman? Yung mga hindi mayaman? Kailangan din i-analyze yan. Kaya dati, alam na natin gawin yan. We know how to analyze already. So by early this year, more or less, nakikita na natin ang takbo ng panahon. But sa ngayon, ay hindi talaga malaman because everything is very changeable. And the President is also very, what is the crafty, I think is the good English word for that when it comes to politics. So he's keeping everybody guessing.
Yeah. Ito pala, Senator, yung banner ni Joey Binancio ngayon, Sara Win Gatchalian to, niluluto dahil presidente ang takbo ni Marcos. Ito, parang nag-usap ba kayo ni Joey Binancio at tatakbo ka raw presidente?
Hindi. Well, siyempre, we're all in touch, but wala namang pinag-uusapan na ganyan. Kagaya nga nasabi ko, we have to decide. Because it's a national position, ang pag-ikot, ang pagkampanya, ang pag-organize, ang pagplano is similar. So, whatever the basics are all about the same. You still have to go around, you still have to kailangan mo pa rin patibayin yung mga areas na malakas ka, kailangan mo rin trabahuhin yung mga areas na mahina ka. Ganun pa rin, hindi naman nagbabago. Kaya yung lahat ng nagagawa ko ngayon, yung mga pag-ikot, even the PR, all of that will be to the benefit of whatever I decide to do.
Ayun. Pero ito, may nabasa akong sa press statement naman ni Tito Soto, kasi si Win Gatchalian at si Tito Soto, parehas Nationalist People's Coalition to eh. No? So mukhang malabo na tong si Win dahil alam nga naman bigyan ng endorsement ni Tito Soto yan. Kalaban niya sa posisyon, kapartido niya.
Palagay ko, SecGen si Tito Sen eh. Siyang SecGen ng NPC. So, baka hindi niya bigyan ng tono.
Labo-labo yan, Senador.
So mukhang mangyayari talaga dito Sara Marcos o Marcos Sara ito. Senator, ganun ba yan?
Well, that's of course, lahat kagaya na sabi ko, that's all a possibility. All of these combinations, siyempre bukas tayo sa lahat yan.
May balita kasi nagbubuo na ng lineup si Senador Bongbong din eh. Pag nakakumpleto daw.
Is that true, Senator? Nagbubuo ka ng lineup?
Hindi pa pwede magbuo ng lineup sa ngayon. Pero siyempre marami na ako nakakausap, maraming lumalapit. Sasama ako sa iyo. I'll be with you. Anong partido natin? Saan tayo pupunta? Anita. All of these things. Meron na talagang ganyan. Dahil national ito eh. Hindi ka pwede. Siguro kung yung mga governor, baka kaya pa nung yung nag-iisa. Kahit walang vice governor, walang konsehal, walang mayor, kaya pa nilang ilaban yan. Pero sa national, hindi po pwede. Kailangan talaga may kasama ka sa bawat lugar. Yun ang mga lumalaban para sa iyo, yun yung mga nagkakampanya para sa iyo. You have to get that organized. So, yes. So, yung mga line-up, yung gusto kong kasama, yung gustong sumama, all of that, nandyan na silang lahat. At tinitignan na namin kung ano ba talaga yung pinakamagandang combination.
KBL pa rin po, Senador?
Well, nandyan ang KBL. KBL is still a national party. Marami ring lumalapit na iba. I am still a member of the Nacionalista Party. So, talagang... Again, to go back to the role of the parties has changed very much. Hindi na kagaya ng two-party system natin na may mga lugar sasabihin, dito kami, LP kami dito.
Yes.
Mula nung umpisa, dito, NP kami dito. Kahit sino yung kandidato, binoboto natin. I guess in similar fashion sa United States, dahil two-party rin sila, meron mga blue states and red states.
Yes,
Dito meron tayo dati ganyan. Ngayon wala na. Wala na kasi walang ang multi-party system dito sa Pilipinas parang hindi masyadong nagwagi.
Oo nga.
Dahil walang kabuluhan yung pagmiyembro mo sa isang partido unless except for the bigger parties. Yung mga pwede kasing lumipat, there's no political cost to turncoatism. There's no political cost to changing parties. Kung sa ibang lugar, kahit yung multi-party system, lalo na sa Europe, pag palipat-lipat ka, ang tingin sa'yo ng tao, wala kang panindigan. You have no ideology, wala kang sinusundan, basta convenience lang ang ginagawa mo. So may cost yun. Dito wala pa tayo. I think the electorate does not quite understand how the multi-party system is supposed to work. Dahil wala tayong experience dyan So the reason that has happened, so the parties become marriages of convenience lang for each election.
Actually, Senator, yan yung gustong i-develop ng father mo nun Kaya nga meron tayong batasang pambansa, di ba? Yung multi-party, dinidevelop, pero along that line, again, after 1986, nagbago na naman ang sitwasyon, kaya walang nangyari dyan.
At saka mahirap ang multi-party system pag merong two houses. Because lalo na in our system, because sa states ang senadores are elected by states. So ang talagang constituency nila are states.
Yes.
So when I was explaining once our system to an American friend, and they said the senator is voted at large. Sabi ko the whole country votes for the senator. Ang tanong niya sa akin, who does the senator work for? Sinong constituency? Sabi ko, buong Pilipinas. So who do they work for? Kasi sa amin, they work for the state. Ostensibly, they work for the state. They are there to represent the state in Congress. So that is, I think, one of the problems that hindi ma-resolve having a multi-party system and an upper house. So that is why the IBP, yung nabanggit mo, interim batasan pambansa, ang naging batasan, yan ang talagang pinupuntahan dapat niyan na magkaroon ng single parliament, and that parliament will have MPs, and the MPs will belong to their own parties. But the parties stand for something.
Yes.
Yun ang ibig sabihin. Na, alimbawa, yung example that I'm most familiar with, of course, is the UK. And in the UK, if you're a member of the Conservative Party, your politics are generally right of center.
Yes.
If you are a Liberal Party member, you are generally left, or Labour is generally left. Liberal is libertarian in its approach. SNP, the Scottish Nationalists, are working for Scottish nationalism. All of these, they have, the Green Party starts because of the ecology. That's how it started anyway. So anyway, these are you cannot, hindi mo makikita yung palipat-lipat. Sa America, may Republican, may Democrat. And again, the general spectrum is that Republicans are generally right of center, and the Republicans are right of center. Democrats are generally left of center. So they have totally different, not totally, but they have different approaches to government. And pagpipilian mo, hindi lang yung tao, kung hindi yung programa. Sasabihin, ito yung balak namin. Sa amin palagay, ito yung pinakamaganda. Sasabihin naman ng kabila, yun ang aming, ito naman, hindi nag-iiba yung plano namin. Hindi kami sang-ayon doon sa sinasabi nila. Ito yung aming approach. And that is, yun ang pagpuputuhan mo. Now, that is also, napunta na tayo sa political science. That's why I was very, very much before, believe ako sa multi-party system because I saw how it worked in UK, Germany, in all the European countries, and it seems to work very well. So I was always for the multi-party system. But having gone through it, having been a local government executive, having been in the legislature, nakikita ko that maybe it's time to return because there's no political cost nga to turncoatism, maybe it is time to return or to start thinking very hard about returning to the two-party system. Why do I say that? Because there is a very rigorous test to make sure that the quality of leadership that we end up with is the best that we can find. Because let us say, balikan natin, liberal, nationalista, okay? Lahat ng member ng liberal, gusto lahat yan maging mayor, maging governor, maging presidente, maging senador. Eto sa kabila, ganun din. Dito sa nationalista, ganun din. Lahat yan, gustong may ambisyon yan, maging kung ano. Ngayon, sa loob ng partido, within the parties, meron ng nagigirian na sila, nagdidebate na sila. Pinipili nila kung sino sa palagay nila pinakamagaling na mayor ng ganito, ng governor ng ganito, na congressman. So, pag naglabas ang party ng ticket, sasabihin na ito ang ticket ng nasyonalista. Yan na yung pinakamagaling na membro ng nasyonalista. Pag naglabas ng ticket yung LP, sasabihin ng liberal, ito yung pinakamagaling namin. Para naman, pagdating ng eleksyon, kahit sinong manalo, magaling yun.
Yes, supposed to be. That's the theory, Senator, di ba? Supposed to be.
But
Yun ang
it's you have to, that gives you a certain assurance that kahit paano, may quality of leadership na lalabas. Yun ang importante na makakatulong talaga sa bansa.
Well, yung iba nating mga kasamaan, si Juby de Guzman ng DWBL. Kapatid, may tanong ka ba? Go ahead. Juby, nawala. No.
Nakamute pa siya.
Lakay, may tanong ka ba ulit? Nasa si Lakay? Ayun, Juby. May tanong ka ba? Go ahead. Yung ano mo, yung...
Good morning. Nakamute ka.
Nakamute ka, yung mic mo. Paki-open.
Yeah.
Nawala ulit.
Ayan.
She's
Good
back.
morning po sa inyong lahat. Senator Bong, gusto ko lang malaman, kagaya rin po ba ni Duterte na Pangulo natin ang gagawin po ninyo kung sakaling kayo po maging presidente? Waiting po ang mga proyekto. Alam natin, tinutuloy na ho ngayon. Ganun rin po ba ang gagawin nyo? Itutuloy-tuloy nyo pa rin kahit po halimbawa hindi ninyo ito proyekto o wala ho kayong pangalan sa proyekto?
Siyempre, ayan, sakit ng Pilipinas yan. Hindi natin dapat ituloy yan. Kung maganda, bakit hindi? Dapat, in fact, yung mga ginawa ni Pangulong Duterte, dapat palawakin pa natin yan . That is a good start, yung kanyang ginawa. Yun ang sinasabi niya sa atin doon sa kanyang State of the Nation. Na sinasabi, ganito, ito yung mga issues, ito yung mga sektor na importante sa akin. Inisa-isa niya. Yung drug war, tapos yung West Philippine Sea, yung corruption, lahat pinag-usapan niya. And at the same time, hindi lang niya pinag-usapan, sinabi rin niya, hindi ko natapos yung iba. Kaya kailangan pa rin ninyo, hindi ba may utos siya, yung ending niya, nag-utos pa siya, may utos siya lalo na sa legislature, ipasa na natin itong mga batas na ito para mas marami pa tayong nagawa doon sa gusto nating gawin. And that is, I think, the best message for people to take on. Sasabihin, kung maganda yung ginawa ninyo, sa palagay niyo magandang ginawa ni Presidente, ipagpatuloy natin. And in fact, make it bigger, make it better. Like for example, yung sa build, expand yan. To not just yung horizontal and vertical construction, pero to other things. We include power, internet, all of those things. Palakihin natin. Pero ngayon pa lang siya nag-start. Kaya I think there will be elements. Marami naman sa akin pinag-usapan just now tungkol sa tungkol sa naumpisahan na. Kailangan talaga that the reforms, and the people don't nakakalimutan natin because the politics is so heated. Nakakalimutan natin that there's actually may trabaho ang gobyerno, hindi lang lumalaban sa eleksyon. Pero may trabaho ang gobyerno at ito yung mga ginagawa. And I think we have to remove, ako nanghihinayan ako yung attitude ng politika kuminsan sa Pilipinas, hindi kuminsan, madalas sa Pilipinas na sinasabi, ako lang yung magaling, lahat ng lahat na yung nakalabang ko, na natalo ko, walang kwenta lahat yung ginawa. Hindi totoo yun . Hindi ito man totoo. Meron din naman maganda. Ituloy na lang ninyo. Kagaya
Actually,
nitong mga plano na pinag-usapan natin that were made for 20, 30 years. Eh kung maganda, di gamitin ninyo. And in fairness to the Duterte government, kung nakikita nilang makakatulong at maganda, ginagamit talaga nila. And that's what I intend to do. It's not about politics anymore. It's about nation building. It's about nation building. We should not talk about politics. After the elections I know it's impossible to do because ang napakainit na. But the decisions that have to be made in terms of ano ikabubuti ng bansa. Hindi na yung paano ko tulungan yung kalyado ko, paano kumita itong ganito, paano payayamanin yung ganito. Dapat hindi na muna ganun.
Salamat po.
We have to stick to the job that the people have given us, and that is to build this nation, build it back better.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat po, Kapon.
Diyan sa punto na yan, Senator, actually, kayo ang unang-unang biktima dyan eh. Di ba? Yung after 30 years, hanggang ngayon. Nga pala, anong message mo dun sa mga hindi makamove on na after 30 years?
Basta, wala talagang kuminsan, hindi na mapulis. Those people who don't let your kuminsan ang aasim, ang hanga magsalita na wala namang connection dun sa usapan. And so I always try to send the message to them, don't let your hate overwhelm your humanity. Your pagka-Pilipino, yung pagmamahal ninyo sa bansa. Dahil galit kayo sa isang tao, yun na lang ang kalimutan nyo muna, tulungan nyo muna yung tao, tulungan nyo muna yung bansa. I suppose some of them think that that's the way of helping, but hating people is not a productive exercise.
Si Rene Maliwat.
Kasama Rene Maliwat nandiyan ba? Kasama Rene. Go ahead. Sige.
O Rene, tanong ka kay Senator.
Good morning, Pangulo.
Good morning.
Gandang umaga po. At itatanong ko lang kasi yung may mga partido ngayon, particular na yung PDP, medyo nagkakalabuan. May kumukumbinsi ba sa'yo para isa ka sa maging leader nila? Bagamat isa si Pacquiao, sa sinasabi nila na gustong tumakbong presidente, ay may nag-re-recommenda ba sa iyo na ikaw maging Pangulo, siya maging Vice President?
Maraming mga lahat ng combination ay pinapayo sa akin.
Pacquiao Marcos.
Oo, lahat ng maiisip ninyong combination narinig ko na siguro. Yes, marami. Within the parties, outside of the parties, na merong mga gustong, I suppose sincere naman sila, gusto nang tumulong, ilalapit kita sa ganito, maka pwede kayo mag-usap. Basta't lahat ng mga ganun, I entertain all of that. Hindi, wala naman ako hinihindihan. Dahil nga, you never know what will happen from one day to the next, one week to the next. Baka yung mga pinopropose nila na sinasabi mo, parang mahirap yan, parang hindi yata mabubuo yan. May mangyari, and before you know it, that's the best option that you have. No? Kaya marami talagang lumalapit. And I think sincere naman ang kanilang paglapit na sinasabi. Maganda sana ito kung magawa natin. Maganda ito. Malakas kayo, marami kayong magagawang maganda. So magsama kayo. So sure, mag-usap kami. Titignan natin. Ang ano ko lang talaga is ang parang judgment ko na para dyan sa mga tinatawag na combination or alliances ay basta't naman nagtutugma ang aming hangarin para sa kabutihan ng Pilipinas. Yun lang naman eh. And I go back to that phrase that I used earlier, nation building. Dapat we have to remind ourselves that the job of government and everybody in government or everybody in public service is to build this nation. And it's not to win the next election, although you have to win the election to do that. But that's not the main point. The main point is to make the country better. And we really need that kind of thinking now dahil itong ang pandemya talagang na-knock out tayo in every way. In terms of nagkakasakit, meron yung yung ekonomiya, nahihirapan, all of these things. So Yun ang atin dapat na tinitignan. And as long as we agree on the general principles of how we should proceed within the pandemic and after the pandemic, then maybe we should then maybe we can have an alliance.
Senator Bong.
It's just that simple, really. That simple and that complicated.
Senador Bong, Marcos Pacquiao, Pacquiao Marcos, okay ba sa'yo?
Pag-usapan natin. Bakit hindi?
Kasi ano yan, alias Mindanao tsaka ano yan.
Hindi, tsaka nabanggit mo, Senator, halos lahat yata ng kombinasyon ay nabanggit na sa iyo. No? So, yung bang Marcos Marcos, nakarating ba sa iyo? Nakarating din ba sa yan?
Well, si Mayor Isko, kaibigan na kaibigan ko, matagal na.
Yun.
Tapos lahat ng tao na kaibigan ko rin. So, siyempre kahit pa paano, we run into each other, nag-uusap kami.
Nagpapalakpakan yung mga tao pag sa Marcos Pacquiao.
Again, all of those combinations have been proposed. Kaya yan na nga, ganyan talaga pag-usapan natin. Kung maganda bang maging resulta ng usapan natin, bakit hindi?
Naririto kasi sa press club yung mga reporter sa Manila City Hall, nagpapalakpakan sila nung mabanggit yung Moreno Marcos Moreno. O, lalo na si Aya Yupango, ang lapad ng ngiti. Oh.
Marcos pa lang to sa Aya Yupango na to eh.
Well, with that, Senator, by the way, kumusta pala ang mother mo? I would like to congratulate her. Siya ay awardee ng Association to Promote Philippines-China Understanding. Siya pala ay isa sa awardee lifetime for her significant role in establishing the diplomatic relations between China and the Philippines way back in 1975. May mga picture na gano'n na nasa internet, Senator. Kasama kayong mga anak ng first family nung nagpunta kayo sa China noon, di ba?
Hindi lahat dahil nung unang trip, unofficial pa yun. I'm mistaken. It was the first official trip na galing, the official delegation na galing sa Pilipinas na pumunta sa China was in 1974.
Okay.
At ang head ng delegation, ang mother ko, kasama ako doon. I was 16 years old nung sinama ako. Yun ang una, yun yung unang lapit. Siyempre, that was pinapunta siya ng father ko doon upon the invitation of Chairman Mao and at the time the foreign minister was Zhou Enlai, upon the invitation of the Chinese government, with the intention of opening diplomatic relations. So kasama ako noon. Nung bumalik ang father ko para pumirma na ng actual formal formation of the diplomatic relationship, nung nangyari yun, hindi ako nakapunta. Lahat ng pamilya ko nakapunta. Nagmamakaawa ako sa father ko. Sabi ko, isama ninyo ako. Sabi niya, may exam ka. Mag-exam ka muna. Nasa eskwela pa ako noon. Sabi niya, hindi ka pwede. Sabi ko, ako nandun ako nagsimula. But siyempre, at that time, yung pinaka-importante sa father ko yung mag-aral. So, I went on the first trip that was in 74. Hindi na ako nakasama dun sa formal signing of the diplomatic relations.
Yeah, this was after 1 year, June 6, 1975, if I'm not mistaken, Senator. And I think dito i-recognize yung role ng mother mo for the establishment of the formal diplomatic relations between China and the Philippines. She would be the first Hall of Famer ng APCU together with Ambassador Chua. Francis Chua, if I'm not mistaken. Kung di ako nagkakamali, yung mother mo, how is she now? Kasi going back into history, ngayon lang malalaman ng mga kababayan natin, siya ang ambassador exposiari ba yun? Ng father mo. In fact, nakausap niya si Gaddafi, nakausap niya si Fidel Castro pala, may kuha sila.
I don't think, wala yata siyang formal title as a diplomat. Pero siya lagi talaga ang nag-head ng delegation dahil kung yung mother ko magaling talaga makipag-usap eh. She's very kahit sino na nasasabayan niya eh. Kahit hari, kahit
Yes, oo.
fisherman, kahit na trabahador, kahit na kayang-kaya niyang kausapin. Eh. That's her genius. It's really that she connects to people very, very quickly. Huli niya kaagad ang tao kung ano yung iniisip, ano yung kailangan niyang gawin para mabuo itong whatever po, itong agreement na ito, whatever it is. So, siya ang pinapadala ng father ko. And marami talaga siyang napuntahan. Lahat ng pinakasikat na leader sa buong mundo, nakilala na yata niya. Kung makita niyo yung mga picture, lahat
Yes,
ng narinig niya, yung mga nababasa lang natin sa libro, mga naging kaibigan pa niya yan. Kaya yes, so she was the ambassador at large, I suppose you could call her. Oo, na talagang siya talaga ang nag-head ng mga first delegation. Siyempre kasama niya yung mga different very important members of government, pero she makes the first approach. Yung kay Gaddafi, like a simple nung kay Gaddafi, nung una siyang pumunta sa Libya, nung nandun siya, siyempre gusto niya makipagkita kay Gaddafi. Ayaw silang i-entertain ni Colonel Gaddafi. For ilang araw, nag-aantay lang daw sila sa hotel for word na magkikipagkita. Ayaw talaga ni Gaddafi for whatever reason.
Yes.
Nalaman ngayon niya na yung tatay ni Gaddafi nasa disyerto. At nagpunta sa disyerto kasi doon talaga tumitira siya. Pinuntahan niya yung father. Pinuntahan niya yung father ni Colonel Gaddafi. Nakikiusap siya. Sabihin mo naman sa anak mo that we need to talk to him because ganito, ganyan. Tumawag yung father ni Gaddafi, tumawag sa telepono habang nandun yung mother ko. Pagbaba niya ng telepono, sabi niya, okay, you go back, he will see you. Pagbalik nila sa hotel nila, nandun na si Gaddafi. Inaantay sila. Ganun yung mga technique ng mother.
Galing, no?
Tapos, sabi sa'yo, yan ang genius niya. Talagang maabilidad. At talagang, those are the many ways that she can find a way to approach people in a non-threatening way, in a non-aggressive way. Babae pa. So talagang mas maano yung dating niya.
In fact, Senator, that meeting with Gaddafi paved the way for yung ceasefire agreement ng MNLF at saka ng Pilipinas, no?
Kaya tayo nagkaroon ng mga autonomous region.
Oo.
Oo. Yan, that was part of the agreement na pirmahan between the Philippines and Libya. Kasi nalaman ng intel natin that Libya may sumusuporta dun sa laban sa South. So, make peace with and that was also an element of our approach in China because the revolution that was being fomented in the countryside by the NPA, the CPP-NPA at the time was Maoist.
Yes.
So pinuntahan natin yung China, doon tayo nakipag-peace. So parang ang pinaka-usapan, tulungan, we will do what you wag na tayong maglalaban. Wag na kayong magpadala ng armas ng kung ano na para labanan ng gobyerno namin. Kami magdiretso na lang tayo mag-usap. And that was the kind of diplomacy that my mother was involved in. Pero hindi lang 'yun, marami pa siyang ibang.
Yes, marami. Nakita ko nga and it's a good thing na dapat malaman to ng ating mga kababayan because for the last 30 years, ang narrative napakasama ng mga Marcos, Senator Bongbong.
Na malaki nang nagbabago. Meron talaga ako nakikitang tendency dahil because I think of the internet, yung mga bata lalo, they have other sources of information.
Yes,
Hindi lamang television, hindi lamang radyo, hindi lamang sa dyaryo. So, nakakapag-internet, nakaka-i-google nila, iba-iba yung nakikita nila. And many of the comments that I get, nagbablog ako, mga comments na nakukuha ko, sinasabi ng tao, sinasabi lalo kabataan, sabi niya, okay, alam namin, sabi ng dilaw ganito. Pero alam namin propaganda yan eh. Pero yung sinabi niyo, parang propaganda rin. Ano ba talaga? Ano ba talagang katotohanan? Bakit ba nagmartial yung tatay mo? Bakit ba niya ginawa ito? Bakit ba niya ginawa yung Masagana 99? Bakit ba pinapunta rito yung IMF? Bakit nandito yung ADB? All of these things na tinatanong na on a more factual basis, and we try to inform as to what. In fact, some of the best vlogs that I have, yung napakarami ang nanood, ay yung tungkol nga sa mga nangyari nung nakaraan dun sa administrasyon ng aking ama. So people are interested to know what really happened. And so far, I think that we have been getting very good response. So nakakatuwa naman. Now we are finally we are getting to the point that the discussion of the Marcos legacy is beyond propaganda already. Hindi na propaganda lang.
Yun. Thank you. Well, with that, we've taken so much of your time, Senator Bong. O, teka, may isa pa
May
pala
tanong pa si Rene, mga taga-radyo, may tanong pa.
June Tadena. Go ahead, June. Hello. Yung may magtatanong. Kasi otherwise, we would be asking the good senator to say his final words.
May
June
tanong pa yata
Tadena.
yung taga-radyo. May tanong pa yung taga-radyo natin,
Sino?
si Rene Maliwat sa si June.
Rene, may tanong ka ba ulit, Rene? Sige, go ahead.
Yes, Pangulo, at yung kanina kasi, hindi siguro natalakay din ito. Yung regarding po sa yung petition sa PET ni Senador, ano po yung update at parang sinasabi ng kampo ni BP Lin na parang hindi pa rin matanggap ng kampo ni Senador Marcos yung pagbasura ng Supreme Court dito.
Well, buhay pa kasi meron pang nagko-comment na mga justice eh. So it's really not hindi sa amin yun dahil yung mga justice kasi may mga tinatanong pa tungkol sa yung legal decision kasi parang ang lumabas na decision hindi yun ang pinag-agrihan ng mga justice. So there are still nag-anuhan pa ng comments, humingi si Chief Justice Alex Gisubundes is now asking for comments from both sides. So nandun ang status niya ngayon.
Thank you very much, Apo.
Thank you. Director Joey, kung wala nang thank you very much again, Senator Bongbong Marcos. Your final word to our nation.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Paul, Joey, dito sa opportunity to be with the NPC once more after such a long time.
Yes,
I cannot end without saying that we are so happy dito sa resulta ng ating mga athlete at kahit na nasa gitna tayo nitong pandemya at na maraming naghihirap, kahit papaano meron tayong balita na nakakatuwa at nakakataba ng puso ng lahat ng Pilipino. It's very very important that we have this kind of inspiration, these role models for our young children. So I cannot congratulate them enough. I cannot thank them enough for all the pride and the honor that they are bringing home to our country. So mabuhay kayong lahat. Now that we are approaching the lockdown again, we are actually starting today. Nag-lockdown na naman tayo. I just urge people, ang aking mag-ingat po, magtiyaga lang po kayo. Alam kong pagod na kayo at matagal na natin ginagawa itong pag-lockdown. Ngunit sana mag-ingat po kayo at balikan po natin yung mga protocol, yung pagsuot ng mask, yung paghugas ng kamay at yung pag-social distancing. At kapag nagkaroon kayo ng pagkakataon na magpabaksin na po kayo. Mag-register na po kayo habang wala pang baksin, tapos pagka nandyan na, magpabaksin na po kayo para maibalik natin ang ekonomiya natin para makapagtrabaho na naman tayo na maayos. And that is what my constant theme is, that please be careful, mag-ingat po tayong lahat. Let us keep safe, let us keep our family safe. At sana mag-uusap-usap ulit tayo at isipin natin ng mabuti kung palampasin natin ang ating pag-iisip sa politika lamang at isipin natin na mabuti kung paano natin pagagandahin ang ating minamahal na Pilipinas. Yan ang tanging hangarin natin lahat ay pagandahin natin ang Pilipinas. At kahit na nadadaan tayo sa pandemya, kahit nadadaan tayo sa economic crisis, yan pa rin dapat ang paggising natin, yan ang iniisip natin. Bago tayo matulog, yan ang dapat iniisip natin. So, but with that unity na nagkaka-agree tayo, makakaraos din tayo. We will not only survive, but we will succeed. We will succeed as long as Filipinos are working together and are unified. Dahil napakagaling ng Pilipino, napaka-talented ng Pilipino. We should just apply that, all that talent, all that industry, all that resourcefulness in one direction, and we will go very, very far. So let us work together.
Thank you. At hopefully, Director Joey, next na ano natin kay Senator Bongbong, sa filing na ng candidacy, ganun ba yun?
Mare. Pagkatapos pag-file.
Ayan.
Para ma-explain ko sa inyo yung ano
Sa Oktubre,
ko.
no?
Oktubre. Oo, sige. And with that, mga kababayan, nagpapasalamat pong muli ang National Press Club sa ating mga kapatid sa media. Ang dami nila ngayon, no? Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa na rin natatapos yung thread dito sa ating Facebook page.
Puro Marcos, ano?
Lahat, puro pro Marcos itong naririto. Ay, hindi po kami ang nagpo-post nito. Ito po yung mga nanonood sa Facebook.
Mukhang nabigyan na ito mga to
Alan, ano?
Mukhang nabigyan na.
Well, with that, magandang tanghalian po sa ating lahat. Ito pong muli si Paul Gutierrez, ang Pangulo ng National Press Club. Kasama ko po si Director Joey Binancio. And again, thank you po sa ating mga partner stakeholders, ang Smart Philippines, ang Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, ang Strategic Information Service ng DENR under USEC Benenti Porda, and of course, ang MX3. And finally po ulitin lang po namin, hindi pa po patayang manayang pamamayag sa Pilipinas, lalo na po sa print media, sapagkat ito po ang bagong issue ng Remate, Pinoy Expose at saka po Police Files Tonight. Again, magkita-kita po tayo sa susunod na edisyon ng ating programa. And thank you once again, Senator Bongbong Marcos, for accommodating us.
Thank you.